Nevertheless, the French government is deploying 10,000 new military forces to help keep key locations secure around the country, as well as 8,000 additional police personnel. Will it be enough? Joining me now to talk about this, CNN law enforcement analyst Tom Fuentes and Peter Brookes, who is a senior fellow in national security affairs at the Heritage Foundation. Tom, I want to start with you right now. The idea that there could be bigger cells, accomplices still on the loose here in this country. If you were the French government right now, how would you be pulling on these threads? How would you find these suspects?
John, the first step that they'll be doing is trying to look at every method of communication that the Kouachi brothers and the others involved in this have had. You know, they were already aware of the 500 phone calls among the wives, but they'll be looking at who else was being contacted and how far back can those phone records go. You know, a lot of European countries have very strict privacy laws, and they may not be able to go that far back in phone records and other electronic communication records, such as email and social media, to be able to determine that. But assuming that they're looking at that, you know, that's what they'd be trying to do, is establish the electronic links. And during the time they have, especially the Kouachi brothers under surveillance, who were they meeting with at that time? Did any other names come up on the radar at that point during the coverage they already had?
It's after September 11th, the United States, of course, Congress passed the Patriot Act, giving United States officials more investigative power, greater surveillance power. I talked to French officials here, and it's unclear whether there is the public will for that kind of increased authority. Peter Brookes, I want to ask you sort of a side question right now. We have information that at least one of the Kouachi brothers in Yemen knew the so-called underwear bomber, Abu Muttalib. They knew each other. They may have even lived together when they were both in Yemen at the same time. So what can U.S. intelligence now do with this information? Can they go to Abu Muttalib, who's in a U.S. prison right now, and say, hey, what do you know about the Kouachis?
They certainly might, and I would hope that they would. I mean, Tom did a great job, John, of outlining what they should do in France. But the other part of that is the international perspective. You know, reaching out to the United States, reaching out to other partners to see what they might know, and then trying to put these things together, because we found out so many times in the past that one country knew something that another country would have liked to have known, whether you're talking about the Tsarnaev brothers or other international plots. And it wasn't any malintention on the part of these countries of not sharing that information, but sometimes this stuff falls through the cracks. So the French need to go beyond France and talk to international partners about what they might know as they try to put together this jigsaw puzzle and prevent a second wave or another attack.
John, if I could add one more comment to that.
Yeah, along those lines, Tom Fuentes.
Go ahead, if I could add to that I dealt with the European police services for many, many years when I was in the FBI. I ran FBI international operations. I was on the board of Interpol. The reason that those services are very reluctant to share information, initially share information, or even maintain information, is because these are the countries that were under the Gestapo during the Nazi occupations. And at the end of World War II, they passed laws that said we're not going to hold information for long periods of time. If somebody doesn't stay on our radar, we're going to purge their files. And that privacy issue has been something that we've been trying to work through for many years. After 9/11, the French became really outstanding partners. They were the first country to provide the U.S. with flight manifests of passengers and give us data, which is why these guys ended up on our Tide warning and watch list and ended up on our no-fly list. That happened because of their cooperation. But the reluctance of Europeans to maintain this kind of information runs very deep and for a long time, since World War II.
John, you can't succeed.
A complicated legacy, to say the least. I should add that our very own... Hang on, we're going to move on here, unfortunately, gentlemen. I want to thank you so much, but one point I